Hello everyone. I am the Warm. This is Raging Loop. We are back in action, and we are back to what is quite the bombshell, really. This statement Rokako has just decided to grace us with. So I guess if we're going to talk about anything, let's talk about that first. In Kamafujiyoshi head families, it is even said that it is the Yasumizu inhabitants who are the Yomibito. So where have we heard this before? Obviously, this is the wolf story. This is the story that gets told to those who become the wolves. It's what convinces them to murder their fellow village members. So this is obviously incredibly suspicious. The fact that the head families are aware of this, If we're going along the lines of this is a Kamafujiyoshi conspiracy, then presumably, Higuchi or the Miguruma or whoever's in charge up there, if they wanted to, they could perhaps somehow leak this information to the villagers, since they seem to have been preparing for something like this. But obviously, I'm sure Rokako isn't going to end with just this, but those are my first thoughts on this pretty big, important statement here. There are a couple other things I want to talk about before moving on. I'll save one for last. Mochi was pretty dang active last time. He was so active that he drew the ire of Konzo, got slapped a bit. But he was really going all out trying to get as much information as possible from people. Asking them whether they were a wolf or a human or if they had a guardian. just going around. I mean, I'm not sure what the strategy is there. I mean, because I feel like that's somewhat suspicious to just go around and do that. Even though, even though Konzo said, hey, let's not talk about the feast outside it, he was just going, I mean, Konzo's he's the leader, but, he may not always have the right call. But even still, Mochi was kind of just blatantly going out and doing that. It was, I don't know, it was something. And I want to bring up something that, let me see if I could find it. Where was it? Yeah, so this is going back to not the last episode. Remember, I always, just the way I record, usually like I'm an episode ahead of the last one. So this is what I'm recording right now will be 38, I think, and this is referring back to 36. Yeah, okay, so on 36, Tuli Cannell gave me a real, made me very nervous. Basically, it was suggested that, here's the thing. If there's a strategy I can think up, then obviously Haruaki, Yasunaga, and the Wolves can think it up, So, I've gone on episode after episode by this point talking about how I'm excited for the Crow. I want the Crow to actually do something. I'm waiting for it. Finally, it's time. And in all my excitement, I didn't consider the possibility that, well, yeah, the Wolves know that too. So it's a very real possibility that the Wolves may try to do something with that. Either maybe they'll claim to be the Crow, or who knows. But basically, now I'm real nervous now that I read that comment. So thank you very much for that. Let's see what else. Oh, of course, the other huge thing that happened last time was our little confrontation with Haru and whatever entity or something that resides within her. Now, Rikako has said, and we've gotten statements like this before, that Haru seems to have developed some kind of mental illness following the death of her parents. Which, that's entirely understandable. But considering that this mental illness... Sorry. Sorry. Considering this mental illness seems to be talking to us directly, I don't know if that's Haru bluffing or something, but this entity seems to have been able to witness things Haru herself was not a witness to, and seems to be directly referencing our looping powers. That's quite something. And can I just say that I am so in love with this idea? Like we can go back and forth on whether this is like, a human caused event or if there's real supernatural stuff. Obviously there's supernatural stuff because of the looping. But I just love the idea of this situation where we are looping, and that's obviously a supernatural situation. And the idea that you sort of get into a Groundhog Day mentality, right? Where you feel eventually the whole death thing becomes rote, right? It becomes, okay, you're used to it. And you think, okay, I basically can just go and die as much as I want and, gather information, go down different paths, So you get lulled into this, false sense of security. And then suddenly there's a supernatural entity that is aware of that. And suddenly the fear comes back where it's like, well, wait a second. What does this mean? Am I really quote unquote safe in my looping? Can this entity affect that in some way? There's something else that's aware of the looping, and it's probably a malevolent force that, after that last episode, I've just been thinking about that, and it's just such a I love it. I love that idea that something else is aware of the looping and trying to keep track of us. And so that's what I actually hope it is. I hope that this, quote unquote God that Chiemi Haru seem to be suffering from is an actual real entity, and it's actually aware of the looping, because that just I don't know, it gave me a little some chills when I came to that realization. It's just so I'm very interested in that. And I think that's pretty much it. Takumi's off by himself after, the traumatic experience we all shared with Tai-san. So yeah, I think we'll finish up this conversation with Rikako, and we'll probably, I guess, make another choice, right? To pick who we want to reveal as the snake. And if Mochi's on that list, that's who we're picking. That's just what we're doing. I'm not gonna even wait for feedback. That's who I want to know. And then we'll see who survives the night. So let's get going. Let's continue on.
それはそうなんですか?
Yeah, I'm sure Haruaki is aware of how substantial that reveal was.
はい。休みずの方にはご内密にしていただけますと。
See, this is so interesting, right? Because this reveal from Rikako, I should say. So Rikako knows, presumably Nasato knows, right? Was he ever family head, or was he just in line to be the head? And he's somewhat exiled now, right? would Mochi have known? He was the heir, essentially, right? But he got kicked out for being weird. Would he know this story? And then there's the fact that if we suspect that Kanzo-san, Old Man, and Gen-san were the winners of the feast from last time, and maybe the wolves, there's a good portion of the village that knows this already, if we assume all that's true. But so it's weird in a way to have this reveal here.
それは聞いたらどうなるんですか？
それは普通に気分を害されるかと。
Yeah, of course they would. It wouldn't make sense for them to become murderers just because they heard something like that.
昔、ずーっと昔に、私が娘だった頃に、上藤吉の門が山祭りで酔って言うとったのよ。読み意味の宴についての本当のお話をね。
Yeah, Tai-san herself said it last time. I don't remember that. Just knowing the real story wasn't enough. That knowledge alone didn't motivate the wolves and Badger to kill. Back then, Chiemi was probably just dealing with her own problems. I'd badly misunderstood her situation. It really did seem like the wolves had a change of heart due to more than simply words. This was good. I could now see a bit more of the picture, the overall picture.
Haruaki-sama. Haruaki-sama.
So since like Rokako knows the story, and we know from last time she wasn't a wolf or badger, I guess what Haruaki's conclusion there was the story itself, and from Tai-san saying that, the story itself is not actually what makes you a wolf. It's the story plus something else. Is that it? I think that's it.
あ、すみません。
It's
何
very
でしょうか？
it's very important information.
怖い顔をなさっているから、何かまずいことを申したでしょうか？
いえいえ、そんな。すみません。はるちゃんの話でしたね。じゃあ、彼女は一体？
野里のお医者様は心の病だとおっしゃいました。しかし上藤吉でも安水でも狼つきだというささやきはなかなか絶えませんでした。だから植松家が汚れ払いを行いまして、その後良くなられたのですが。
Can you be more specific?
それは家事祈祷のようなものですか？
Yeah.
まあそのようなものです。
Huh. Well, thanks for that. That made sense. The four families ruled through local faith, so cracks in their beliefs was serious trouble for them. Were serious troubles for them. I didn't quite relate to the idea that some beastly possessions couldn't happen. But since they'd brought in the Uematsu to deal with it, it could only mean that they'd wanted to handle it from a religious standpoint. In a way, that was an admission that Haru-chan was an exception in their faith. The family heads had probably wanted it to treat it as a problem... Sorry. The family heads had probably wanted to treat it as a problem that had nothing to do with the religion, but that hadn't worked out. Well, if they didn't allow healing her with a change of environment, this didn't seem that... Sorry, I must be tired or something. Well, if they didn't allow her healing with a change of the environment, this didn't seem all that unusual. There were stories of beastly possession all over Japan. Mamiya-san probably had tons of them in her head. It did freak me out a bit that it happened here, of all places, but I felt like I had to consider it separate from all the other strange phenomena here. That's the thing. That's the thing. Chiemi and Haru, they don't say Okami. They just say God. Well, you know, in Japanese, but...
ちなみに、読み人付きという話は出なかったんですか？
It's so strange, because that makes it even more creepy, right? The fact that it could be a supernatural phenomenon, but a supernatural phenomenon unrelated to the other supernatural phenomenon. It's so tantalizing in a way.
それもまた奇妙です。読み人は知性も人徳も備えないおぞましい忌まわしき存在、牧島春様のご様子はそれとは少し違っていました。
That reminded me that last time. I feel like I should say that reminded me of last time, where Kako-san had been declared a Yomibito when something went wrong with her mind. Haru-chan wasn't like her at all.
でも、他に思いつくものがないから、よもつ狼が憑依したという話が生まれた、と？
はい。上藤吉にも、安水の伝承を、話としては知っているというものは、そう少なくもなく。
To be fair, though, we did when I'm assuming that was Haru-chan now, the one we saw in the doorway. You know, when we were with Chiemi, we turned around and we saw that figure standing there. I'm assuming that was Haru-chan now. I mean, I guessed that before, but you know, now I'm assuming it. And we did see that the god or whatever that was wearing what was it? Strips of cloth or paper that had, what was it, sutras on it or something? And it was also wearing the triangular mask thing. And on that mask thing, it had the wolf symbol on it. So I guess it could be some entity related to the wolf in some way. So maybe it is connected.
汚れても神は神。かつ、あのような少々気味の悪いところから、狼付きではないのかと。
Yeah.
そして、祈祷によって治った。
はい。しまいには、軽い汚れによる面倒事であったとみなすこととなったのですが。
I didn't get it completely, but it didn't seem like a big deal, and ended a while ago, but now it had come back. Haruaki, you don't want to think about what the entity said yet? Because it seemed to indicate it knew about the looping.
これはね、僕らだけの秘密だ。多分宴とは全然関係ない話だから気にしないで寝るといい。
This is our secret. No one else's.
子供たちは牧島春様の症状について心当たりがあるのでしょうか。
Yeah, that's a good detail to know.
聞いても教えてはくれなさそうですね。
If Mochi wasn't lying, then this had nothing to do with the feasts, and that was what I thought too. This was a Fujiyoshi problem completely independent of the feast. However,
そうか。落ちてきたか。己、幾度かやり直しておるな。
オチというのはどういう意味なんでしょうか。今日の宴でもその言葉を聞いた気がします。
オチとは戻ってくる。特に黄泉の国から戻ってくるのいです。オチはそれがあること。
じゃあ、落ちなかれとは生き返るなと。
Rikako-san nodded. Well, that made sense. Yasumizu considered returning from Yomi to be ominous, so it served as a farewell to the dead here.
そうか。落ちてきたか。己、幾度かやり直しておるな。
I see. So you came back from the dead. You have tried again several times, have you not? How? How did she know that? I was being subjected to some weird death loop, and I was the only one aware of it. This was the one thing that I couldn't justify in a purely logical manner. Had she noticed it when she was supposedly possessed? Was I just overthinking it? Maybe she'd been referring to something else, or was simply spouting some random nonsense. Was it possible that something supernatural really possessed her, and it could tell what situation I was in? Boy, if it's... I kind of want it to be this, and if it's not this, I want to read a story that's about this, because it's such a... I love this idea so much. I didn't want to believe that, but I would keep it in mind as a possibility. However, not even Rikako-san seemed to know anything about this supernatural entity. Was it completely unrelated to my situation, the feast, and Fujiyoshi's legends? I couldn't afford to overthink things. However, for all I knew, Haru-chan could be the key to unraveling this strange situation. I'd have to keep that in mind. I'd gotten lost in thought again. But this time, Rikako-san just silently waited until I was done. She, too, was wearing a profound expression, hanging her head and lost in thought.
私たちは無知もうまいな山の民です。知恵は埋もれ、こうして無様に踊るしかない。
こんな状況なら誰だってそうですよ。
春明様はそれ以上は踏み込んでこられないのですね。
それはどういう意味です？前も言いましたが、残念ながら僕には特別な能力などありませんよ。
特別な境遇もありませんか？あるいは特別な過去は？いえ、何でもいいのです。私は春明様を特別な方だと思いたいのです。きっかけはわかりません。あの日、墓毛越しに春明様を一目見たその時から。
Which day?
私は夫妻子春明様のことばかりを考えております。置き場に頭を打ちつけた私を助けていただいたから。 名前を呼んでいただいたから。理由は考えました。けれどもわかりません。おそらくは理由などないのでしょう。お慕いしております、夫妻子春明様。
So I made her say it.
リカ子さん、
いいのです。おっしゃられずとも。私はそのようなことを望めるようなものではございません。それでもお伝えしたのはお伝えしたいことがあったから。
なんでしょ
逃げてください。
Wow. Wow.
う。逃げられないでしょ。
I knew that well. I'd believed that I could escape last time, and ended up failing to protect anyone.
僕にもわかりますよ。皆さんがこの霧を恐れる理由が。きっとこの霧からは逃れられない。宴を終わらせなければ霧は晴れない。だから僕は。
言わないでください。私はあなた様から感謝だとか返礼としてのお慰みとかそんなものが欲しいからするのではなく、マロードのお帰りを見送るネアのはしための末裔として、そしてあなた様を慕う一人の女として、春明様には無事に生きていただきたいとそう思うからです。あなた様にはここで死ぬ義理は本当はないはずです。きっとあなた様にも帰る場所は他にある。いいのです。たとえ嘘があっても借りがあっても、この山があなた様に求める犠牲には釣り合わない。だから私が逃がします。
What? That actually sounded like she knew of a way to escape this place. I wanted to ask about it. I had to, even. Despite feeling that way, though.
言わないでください。
Ooh. New track? I don't think we've heard this before. I refused. And I knew full well what that meant for her.
命がないと知ってもですか？
命がないんですか、僕は。
いえ、ただこんなことを続けていればいつかはきっと。
リカ子さん、他に後ろ暗い隠し事はありませんか？
She stared at me in bewilderment.
あなたは自分の思いや自分自身を投げ打てばきっと誰かを逃がすことはできるということを最初から知っていた。だけどそれを行使するかどうか迷っていたのでしょう。植松家としての義務を放棄して誰か一人を逃がすか、それとも最後まで休みずに残って植松家として振る舞うか。迷った後、あなたなりに理論武装をして僕を逃がすことが立場的に正しく、なおかつ自分の望みであると定義した。 僕が無事でありさえすれば、あなたがどうなっても構わないと、僕に納得させるためにね。気に食わないんですよね、そういうのは。
Man, this was fun.
僕は、ルールは自分で決めたいんですよ。
It was fun, and she was just lovable.
そのすみま。
というわけで、ルールの変更を所申します。そうだな。こんなのでどうかな。もしあなたが、他にもうこんな不愉快な秘密を溜め込まないでいいというならば、久石春明は、植松里香子を信じます。
Seriously lovable.
そして、僕は植松里香子のために、あなたは久石春明のために生き残る。それで、もし生き残ったら、あなたは久石春明に、僕は植松里香子に、何でも好きなことを望んでよい。そんな賭けをしませんか？ほら、こっちの方がずっと楽しそうじゃないですか。
Rokako-san was trembling. Her face was all red, her eyes were full of tears, and her shoulders were shivering.
私は愚かなので勘違いをしているかもしれませんが、それはつまりその
I wasn't rude enough to force her to say it. Instead of waiting, I just embraced her.
僕はあなたを見捨てて逃げることで、あなたみたいな美味しそうな人を逃す真似はしませんよ。もったいない。だから、あなたもしっかり生きてください。さあ、どうします？賭けに乗りますか？
I felt her heated breath on me. It seemed to penetrate my shirt.
ダメです。あなたは逃げなくては。
かわいいですね、リカ子さん。
So much that I wanted to take her right then and there.
でも、この先は後の楽しみにとっておこうかな。
そんな今
やっぱり賭けに勝った時にリカ子さんに望んでもらうことにしましょうね、リカ子さん。
I tightened my embrace a little. Eventually, she nodded, sealing the wager.
おやすみなさい。
ええ、おやすみなさい。
It's a battle, I shouted, and she responded with a hooah. The flirting continued for a bit, and then we parted ways. All right. With that out of the way, I had to make sure she kept up her side of the things this time. Oh boy. Oh boy. Wow. I didn't want to stop during that scene. That was quite something. So I guess we all know this is officially the Rokako route. If the first main route was the Chiemi route, this is most certainly the Rokako route. Who knows? Maybe there'll also be a Mamiya route. That was something, huh? Huh. So I guess Haruaki truly believes that, his whole The relationship he built with Chiemi in that first main route was kind of just, you know, it was due to the situation, and it may not necessarily have been genuine, something like that. If that's the case, I wonder if he views this one as, you know, similarly. That's because that was quite a lot, which has happened right there. I might have more thoughts on that next time. I think I just have to let that stew for a while. Okay, now let's, how long have I been going? We can go a little more. Let's get to this. All right, everyone, get your strategic mind ready, because now we have to get serious. Well, we already got serious before, but we're getting serious again. It's time to do this. Now, who to choose today? The situation was completely unlike yesterday. Takumi-san was in an even more critical position than before. It reminded me of Kaori-san's situation from last time. If he went out of control, the only one who could stop him was probably Kanzo-san, but even then, someone could die. Oh, I don't even want to think about that. Yeah, you're talking about when Kaori-san went insane because of Yoshitsugu. Huh. That's a terrifying idea. Especially since we know that Takumi is a human and not a wolf or badger. Probably. Probably not the badger. Kinosuke-shi was, as Mochi had pointed out during the feast, a convenient dumping ground for votes. Knowing Kanzo-san's influence, Mamiya-san would definitely become a candidate for a hanging. In fact, it was more or less obvious that she was an enemy by now. On the other hand, we had people in important positions in completely different ways than yesterday. Mochi had good intuition and used it on me a lot. And Haru-chan, she had little to do with the feast, but she might have had a hint or two regarding my looping phenomenon. Investigating her would be completely personal, but I'd already let Tai-san die because of my selfishness, so that wouldn't be special. It was pretty messed up, clearly, but so was the situation where a selfless act could prove fatal. Besides them, Kaori-san, the old wolf guy, and Yoshitsugu-kun were still total blanks. Whether Kaori-san was a wolf or a human, she'd be a real danger if her sons died. She wasn't a good target for the snake. Yoshitsugu had a tendency to go wild, but he had little influence over the feast. The old wolf guy was the same as always, and an unpredictable vote. I wouldn't pick them this time. Come to think of it, could I investigate the same person I checked yesterday? It'd probably be pointless, but I was curious. Who did I have to go for? Oh my goodness. Wow. It's covering the UI. It's insane. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop here, just cuz I feel like it. And I don't want to start anything more, I feel, at this point in time. Well, you all know my vote. It's going to be Chikamochi. It just is. I need to know. It's been bothering me a long time. But just because I'm voting for Chikamochi doesn't mean I'm open to hearing if you have a different opinion. I mean, we're pretty sure on Hisako. I'm curious, if the badger manifests, if you investigate the badger as the snake, would they come up as badger or would they come up as human? Because the badger is a human that turns traitor, right? So I'm curious whether the game would count that as a badger or as a human. That's part of what I was worried about with Takumi when I initially searched him and saw that he was a human, So I'm curious about that. That could be a reason to go for Hisako. But yeah, so if you have any other ideas, hit me with it. I want to know. I'll probably wait a while before I record the next one of these then, just so I can hear what people's thoughts are. That's the one problem when I get an opportunity to record, I want to use it, because I could be busy other times. But when I'm able to get in extra episodes, suddenly I get ahead of my uploads, and I don't get to I don't get the immediate sort of feedback, and I can't apply it to the next one. So I may wait a day or two before doing the next Raging Loop. Because I like hearing from you guys. I like hearing your opinion. It's I've said it several times now, but I really enjoy it. So let's leave it off from there, shall we? I've been The War. This has been Raging Loop. Loving it so far. I mean, that was a good scene with Rokako and Haruaki right there. That was nice. Haruaki kind of getting a bit eager, saying wanted to take her right then and there. I didn't say anything because I just wanted to continue the scene, but that was quite something. But I guess he's fallen for her. That just indicates how much he has fallen for her. Curious to see how that'll go. Now, of course, hopefully, it'd be terrible if she ended up being a wolf. I don't think she's a wolf, or if she ended up dead. That'd be my real worry here. But we'll have to see. Hope you're all doing all right. Hope to see you next time. Stay well.